Commander Kate Mitchell's boots echoed against the polished obsidian floor of the Terran Vengeance's bridge. The massive holographic display before her cast an ethereal blue glow across her weathered features, illuminating the thin scar that ran from her left temple to her jaw, a reminder of humanity's first successful raid against an Xetheri outpost. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The AI complied without question, and the recording that had driven humanity forward for 3 millennia began to play. The hologram shifted, showing Earth as it had been, beautiful, blue, and alive. Then came the shadows. Massive crystalline ships, each larger than Manhattan, emerged from fold space. Their translucent surfaces caught the sun's light, creating prismatic displays that would have been beautiful if not for what followed. The first beam struck Beijing. In the recording, the crystallization process began instantly, spreading outward like frost on a window. The next target was New York, then London, Moscow, Tokyo, each blast perfectly coordinated. The Xetheri weren't just efficient, they were artists of extinction. Kate's hand tightened around the small device in her pocket, a crystal matrix core barely larger than her thumb. 3,000 years of research, sacrifice, and determination, all concentrated into something that could fit in her palm. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Commander," Lieutenant Rodriguez called from his station, "the fleet is reporting ready. All ships have synchronized their fold space coordinates." Kate nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on the recording. It was reaching the part that had haunted humanity's dreams for generations, the final transmission from Earth Command. "This is General Chen of Earth Defense Command to all colonial outposts." The voice crackled through time itself. "Do not attempt rescue. Do not return. Earth is lost. Remember us. Remember what they did. And when you're ready, come home." The transmission ended as it always did, with the image of Earth transformed into a perfect crystalline sphere, beautiful and terrible in its stillness. But this time, Kate allowed herself to smile. "Put me through to the fleet," she commanded, straightening her midnight blue uniform. The bridge crew worked quickly, and soon the holographic display showed the faces of 23 ship captains, the combined might of humanity's vengeance fleet. 3,000 years ago, Kate began, her voice carrying the weight of generations. "Our ancestors watched their world die. The Xetheri thought they were being merciful, using a weapon that preserved rather than destroyed. They thought they were writing the final chapter of humanity's story." She pulled the crystal matrix core from her pocket, holding it up so all could see. Its surface caught the light just like the Xetheri ships had done so long ago, but this time, the prismatic display represented hope rather than destruction. They were wrong. They didn't end our story. They forced us to write a better one. In the void between stars, we grew stronger. In the shadow of extinction, we thrived. And now, after 3,000 years of preparation, we're going to show them exactly what humanity has become. The captains' faces showed the same determined focus that had driven their species forward through 30 centuries of exile. They had all watched this recording countless times during their training. They had all sworn the same oath. Earth would rise again. "Set course for the Xetheri border outpost in the Carina Nebula," Kate ordered, her voice hard as steel. "It's time to remind the galaxy why you should never corner a species that turned survival into an art form." As the bridge crew prepared for the fold space jump, Kate watched the recording one final time. Soon, very soon, she would see Earth in person, not as a crystalline monument to humanity's defeat, but as it was meant to be, alive, blue, and free. The Xetheri had preserved Earth perfectly in its crystal tomb. They were about to learn that some tombs were meant to be opened. The Horsehead Nebula loomed before them, its dark clouds punctuated by brilliant stars that had guided humanity's scattered children for millennia. As the Terran Vengeance emerged from fold space, Kate's breath caught in her throat. Hidden within that cosmic maelstrom lay humanity's greatest achievement, not just survival, but evolution. Multiple contacts, Rodriguez announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. 4 massive structures detected. Quantum signatures matched the archived coordinates. The stations emerged from the nebula's shadow like ancient titans awakening. Each one was unique in design, reflecting the distinct path its inhabitants had chosen. Station Apollo gleamed with solar collection arrays that seemed to drink in the stars themselves. The angular, fortress-like Station Ares bristled with weapon systems that made the Vengeance look primitive by comparison. Station Athena's revolutionary fold space rings rotated in impossible geometries. But it was Station Prometheus, with its crystalline spires, that drew every eye on the bridge. "By the Earth that was," whispered Lieutenant Chen, breaking protocol but expressing what everyone felt. "They're beautiful." Kate allowed herself a moment of pride. 3,000 years of isolated development, each station pursuing a different path to the same goal. And now we bring them together. The comm system crackled to life, and 4 holograms materialized on the bridge, the leaders of humanity's scattered children. Director Sarah Wells of Apollo, her skin luminescent from generations of solar engineering. Marshal James Chen of Ares, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming. Dr. Elizabeth Nash of Athena, her form slightly out of phase due to her station's temporal experiments. And from Prometheus, Director Alexander Rhodes, his eyes reflecting the same crystalline properties they had learned to master. "Welcome home, Commander Mitchell," they spoke in unison, a gesture that sent chills down Kate's spine. These stations hadn't communicated with each other in 3 millennia, maintaining radio silence to avoid detection. Yet they moved as one, united by their shared purpose. "The Ghost Protocol," Kate said, holding up the crystal matrix core. "It's time to combine our achievements." The station leaders exchanged glances. "We've prepared for this moment." Director Wells began, her voice carrying the warmth of 1,000 suns. "Apollo Station has perfected energy manipulation at the quantum level. The power requirements for the protocol will be met. Ares Station's quantum phase torpedoes will clear the path to Earth," Marshal Chen added, his cybernetic eye glowing with anticipation. "The NX-30 won't know what hit them. Athena's fold space corridors will get us there," Dr. Nash continued, her image flickering. "We've mapped routes the enemy never imagined possible." Director Rhodes spoke last, his crystalline eyes fixed on the matrix core. "And Prometheus has finished what the enemy started. We understand their crystalline technology better than they do now. The Ghost Protocol isn't just a weapon, it's evolution." Kate nodded, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. "Show me." The station leaders transmitted their data, and the Vengeance's holographic display came alive with 30 centuries of human innovation. Apollo's energy matrices, Ares' weapon schematics, Athena's fold space calculations, and Prometheus' crystal technology, all flowing together like rivers joining to form an ocean. "It's ready," Kate breathed, watching the combined knowledge of humanity's greatest minds merge into something new. Begin integration. As the stations synchronized their systems with the Vengeance, Kate thought about the NX-30. They had sought to prevent humanity's evolution by scattering them to the stars. Instead, they had created multiple parallel paths of advancement, each pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "Integration complete," Rodriguez announced. "All systems are showing green. The Ghost Protocol is. It's beyond anything we've ever seen, Commander." Kate smiled, thinking of Earth frozen in its crystal prison. "That's what happens when you give humanity a purpose. We don't just adapt, we transcend." The stations began powering up their systems, preparing to join the Vengeance on its mission of restoration and revenge. In the silence of space, humanity's scattered children were finally reuniting, bringing with them the fire of 30 centuries. The NX-30 had tried to write humanity's epitaph. Instead, they had only written the preface to a much longer story. The NX-30 supply convoy never saw them coming. One moment, the crystalline ships were gliding through fold space on their standard route to Outpost Gamma 9. The next, reality itself seemed to tear apart as the Terran Vengeance and 3 Ares-class destroyers materialized from impossible vectors. Multiple targets acquired, Rodriguez announced, his voice tight with anticipation. Their shields aren't even up. Kate leaned forward in her command chair, studying the enemy formations. The Engsutheri ships were beautiful, their crystalline structures refracting starlight like massive diamonds. But there was something different about them now, something that hadn't been visible in the ancient recordings. "They'd gotten sloppy," she observed, noting the imperfections in their crystal matrices. 3,000 years of unopposed dominance has made them complacent. Target weapon systems are locked. Marshal Chen's hologram reported from the destroyer Artemis. Permission to engage. Kate raised her hand, waiting. The Engsutheri ships were beginning to respond, their crystal surfaces flickering as defense systems activated. But they were too slow, too rigid in their thinking. 3 millennia of rehearsed responses left them unprepared for humanity's unconventional tactics. Now, the attack came from 3 directions simultaneously. The Artemis launched its quantum-phase torpedoes, weapons that existed in multiple states of reality until impact. The Engsutheri shields, designed to stop normal weapons, might as well have been missed. The Damascus unleashed Apollo Station's latest innovation, solar lance technology that focused the power of a star into a precise beam. The crystalline hulls, so proud and beautiful, began to crack. But it was the Vengeance that delivered the killing blow. Kate watched as Director Rhodes' crystalline technology interfaced with the enemy ship's structure. The effect was immediate and devastating. Their own crystal matrices turned against them, shattering in patterns that propagated through their entire fleet. "Primary targets neutralized," Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. "No survivors detected. Wait, we're picking up an automated distress signal." "Perfect." Kate smiled. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Collect what data we can from their systems, then let's give them something to think about. Deploy the markers. Small probes launched from each human ship, positioning themselves among the wreckage. As the fleet prepared to jump away, the probes activated, projecting massive holograms into space. The image was simple but powerful. Earth as it had been, green and blue and alive, with a message in the Engsutheri language. "Remember what you did. Remember who we are. We're coming home." Signal detected, Rodriguez announced. Multiple Engsutheri warships entering the sector. Estimated arrival time: 3 minutes. "Hold position," Kate ordered, surprising her crew. "Let them see us." The Engsutheri warships emerged from fold space in perfect formation, their crystal ships larger and more imposing than the supply vessels they'd just destroyed. For a moment, both fleets faced each other across the void. Kate opened a channel, broadcasting on all frequencies. "This message is for the Engsutheri High Command. 3,000 years ago, you tried to end our story. You failed. Look upon your works, mighty ones, and see how far we've come." She nodded to Rodriguez, who activated the Prometheus protocols. The wreckage of the supply ships began to change. Their crystal structures were forming into a massive human hand, reaching accusingly toward the Engsutheri fleet. "Attack formation," the Engsutheri commander ordered, their translated voice carrying a note Kate had never heard in their recordings. "Fear. Time to go," Kate commanded. "Show them what Athena Station taught us about fold space." The human fleet vanished, not into regular fold space, but through corridors of reality the Engsutheri had never imagined possible. They left behind only the wreckage, the holographic warnings, and the crystal hand, a message that would echo through their empire. As they emerged light years away, Kate reviewed the battle data. The Engsutheri's reactions, their tactics, their fear. It all confirmed what humanity had suspected. The hunters had grown soft, while their prey had been forged into something far more dangerous. "Send word to all stations," she ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. The enemy is exactly as vulnerable as we hoped. Begin Phase 2. The wolves weren't just at the door anymore. They were inside, and they remembered every detail of what had been taken from them. The captured Anx-Theory database pulsed with an inner light as Kate and Director Rhodes studied its crystalline structure within the Vengeance's secure laboratory. 3 days had passed since their successful raid, but this was the first chance they'd had to truly examine their prize. Their entire history, Rhodes murmured, his crystalline eyes reflecting the database's glow. Every decision, every fear, every moment that led them to attack Earth. It's all here. Kate placed her hand on the crystal surface, and the room filled with holographic data streams. The translation matrix they'd developed began converting the alien language in real time, revealing secrets buried for millennia. There, Rodriguez called from his station. I found the original declaration of war. Playing it now. The hologram shifted, showing a chamber filled with Anx-Theory leaders. Their crystalline bodies caught the light differently than their modern descendants. Purer, more purposeful. This was their species at the height of their power, when they'd first decided humanity's fate. The human problem can no longer be ignored. The High Administrator's translated voice echoed through time. Observe their development curve. A graph appeared, showing humanity's technological progress compared to other species. While others showed steady, predictable advancement, humanity's line shot upward at an almost vertical angle. From primitive combustion to atomic power in less than 2 centuries, another leader noted, fear evident in their crystalline resonance. From their first powered flight to lunar landing in mere decades, their rate of adaptation is unprecedented. It's not just their technology, a third voice added. They adapt culturally, socially, even biologically at rates we cannot comprehend. Each challenge makes them stronger. Each obstacle forces them to evolve. They are chaos incarnate. The High Administrator rose, its crystal form casting prismatic shadows. We've run the projections. At their current rate of advancement, they will surpass our technological level within 5 centuries. But that's not what truly threatens us. The hologram showed Earth, beautiful and unaware of its impending doom. Humans don't just advance. They change everything they touch. Their ideas spread like viruses. Their questions challenge foundations that have stood for millennia. If we allow them to join the galactic community, nothing will ever be the same. Kate felt her hands trembling as she watched the Anx-Theory calmly debate humanity's extinction. They were afraid of us, she whispered. Not of what we were, but of what we could become. The solution is elegant, the High Administrator continued. Our crystallization weapon will preserve their world perfectly. Future generations will study them like insects in amber, learning from their potential while ensuring they never achieve it. All in favor. The vote was unanimous. Humanity's fate was sealed not by hatred or greed, but by fear of their limitless potential. The recording shifted through centuries of later discussions. The Anx-Theory congratulating themselves on their success, their gradual realization that some humans had escaped, their growing complacency as decades stretched into centuries with no sign of retaliation. Wait, Rhodes called out suddenly. Look at their recent security reports. The latest data showed growing concern. Unexplained technological failures, missing ships, mysterious energy signatures that defied their understanding. The Anx-Theory had begun to suspect something, but they couldn't comprehend what humanity had become. They thought they were preserving us in crystal, Kate said, a cold smile forming on her face. They never imagined we'd learn to turn their own weapon against them. Show them the latest scans of their homeworld. Rhodes input the commands, and a new hologram appeared. The Anx-Theory homeworld, its crystal cities gleaming. But the scans revealed something the aliens hadn't noticed yet. Microscopic imperfections in their crystalline structures, spreading like cracks in ice. Their entire civilization is built on crystal technology, Rhodes explained, his eyes gleaming. Every building, every ship, every piece of their infrastructure, all of it vulnerable to what we've learned. Kate touched the database one last time, feeling the weight of history beneath her fingers. They tried to preserve us like insects in amber, she said softly. Instead, they taught us how to shatter their entire world. She straightened, her decision made. Send word to all stations. Begin Phase 3. It's time the HFY learned what humanity has become during our long exile. The truth was clear now. The HFY hadn't preserved humanity's past. They had inadvertently created humanity's future. The Vengeance's briefing room crackled with tension as Kate stood before the assembled station leaders and her senior staff. Behind her, a holographic display showed their ultimate weapon. The Ghost Protocol, represented as an intricate crystalline lattice that seemed to shift between states of existence. For 3 millennia, Kate began, her voice carrying the weight of generations. We've prepared for this moment. Each station developed its piece of the puzzle. Now, watch what happens when we put them all together. She nodded to Director Rhodes, who activated a sealed chamber behind the briefing room's reinforced viewing window. Inside, a fragment of crystallized Earth rock, retrieved at great cost during a covert mission, floated in a containment field. Apollo Station's quantum energy matrix. Kate continued as golden energy streams enveloped the sample. Ares Station's precision targeting systems. Red targeting grids appeared around the crystal. Athena Station's space-time manipulation. The air around the sample began to ripple. And finally, Prometheus Station's crystal mastery. Rhodes stepped forward, his crystalline eyes glowing as he interfaced with the system. The sample began to pulse with an inner light, and then something impossible happened. The crystallization began to reverse. By the Earth that was, Marshal Chen whispered, his cybernetic eye whirring as it recorded every detail. It's not just reversing the process, it's preserving everything inside. They watched in awe as the crystal structure dissolved, revealing not just rock, but the microscopic life that had been preserved within it. 3,000-year-old bacteria, frozen in time, began to move again as if no time had passed. The HFY's weapon didn't just preserve the surface structure, Dr. Nash observed, her form flickering with temporal energy. It preserved everything. The entire biosphere, down to the molecular level. Exactly, Kate said, allowing herself a smile. But that's not all. Director Rhodes, show them what happens when we turn it against their technology. Rhodes adjusted the controls, and a small piece of HFY crystal tech was introduced to the chamber. The Ghost Protocol's energy field touched it, and the alien technology began to reshape itself, its matrix restructuring according to human commands. Their entire civilization is built on crystal technology, Kate explained. Every ship, every city, every weapon. And now we can control all of it. But more importantly, she paused, making eye contact with each leader. We can wake up Earth. The holographic display shifted to show their homeworld, still encased in its crystalline prison. Data streams indicated the Ghost Protocol's projected effect across the planet's surface. The process will begin at strategic points, Kate continued. As each area decrystallizes, it will create a cascade effect. The very weapon they use to entomb Earth will power its resurrection. Every crystal structure will become a conductor for the Ghost Protocol. The power requirements will be enormous, Director Wells interjected, even with Apollo Station's advances. That's why we need all 4 stations, Kate cut in. Apollo provides the power, Ares protects the operation. Athena creates the space-time corridors we need to reach Earth, and Prometheus guides the decrystallization process. We've spent 3,000 years becoming the key to our own prison. She turned back to the sample chamber, where the restored rock now housed thriving microscopic life. But we have to move fast. The HFY are already detecting the flaws we've introduced into their crystal systems. They don't understand what's happening yet, but they will soon. When do we begin? Marshal Chen asked, his cybernetic implants humming with anticipation. Kate's expression hardened. Now. The fleet is assembled. The stations are aligned. The Ghost Protocol is ready. She touched the crystal matrix core at her throat. Humanity's revenge distilled into a single point of light. It's time to wake up, Earth. The station leaders exchanged glances, 3,000 years of preparation culminating in this moment. They had evolved beyond what their ancestors could have imagined, driven by a single purpose that spanned millennia. "Send the signal," Kate commanded. "All ships, all stations. Operation Lazarus is now active." The ghost of humanity's past was about to become the nightmare of the Enxtheri's future. Multiple human ships detected in the Carina sector. The Enxtheri High Command erupted into chaos as crystalline displays lit up across their strategic command center. More contacts appearing in the Orion Spur. Additional signatures in the Perseus Arm. Kate watched the confusion unfold through the quantum spy drones they'd planted throughout Enxtheri space. The aliens' crystal technology, once their greatest strength, had become a window through which humanity could observe their every move. "Status of the diversion fleet," she asked, standing aboard the cloaked Vengeance as it slipped through the shadows between stars. "All ghost ships are performing exactly as planned," Commander Rodriguez replied, monitoring the hundreds of holographic projections they'd launched. Each one perfectly mimicked a human warship's energy signature, thanks to Apollo Station's mastery of quantum energy manipulation. The Enxtheri response was exactly what they'd predicted. Crystal ships mobilized in perfect, predictable formations, just as they had for 3 millennia. Their tactical doctrine hadn't evolved since Earth's fall. Why should it have? They'd never faced a real challenge since then. Marshal Chen reports Ares Station's assault fleet is in position. Rodriguez continued. They're drawing heavy Enxtheri response in the Carina sector. Dr. Nash confirms Athena Station's temporal corridors are stable and ready for Phase 2. Kate nodded, watching the enemy ships chase shadows across the galaxy, and their homeworld defense fleet. Deploying exactly as the simulations predicted. They're strengthening their core worlds, leaving minimal coverage along the Earth approach vectors. A smile crossed Kate's face. The Enxtheri were following their ancient protocols, responding to what they perceived as a desperate, uncoordinated assault by the scattered remnants of humanity. They couldn't comprehend that every human ship they saw was a phantom, every attack a carefully choreographed deception. Their arrogance blinds them, Director Rhodes observed through the holographic link. They still think of us as primitives, attacking in blind rage. They can't imagine we've spent 3,000 years planning this exact moment. Kate touched the crystal matrix core at her throat, feeling the pulse of the ghost protocol within. Launch the next wave. Let's give them something new to worry about. Across Enxtheri space, the phantom ships began exhibiting impossible behavior. Some seemed to split in two. Others appeared to travel backward in time. A few simply violated the laws of physics, thanks to Athena Station's mastery of space-time manipulation. Their tactical analysts are in complete disarray, Rodriguez reported with satisfaction. They're detecting technology they can't explain, maneuvers they thought impossible. Their command structure is starting to fracture. The Enxtheri High Command's response was predictable. They began pulling ships back to defend their core worlds, desperately trying to establish a pattern in the chaos humanity had unleashed. They didn't realize that their every decision had been anticipated, their every move calculated 3 millennia in advance. "Signal from the infiltration team," Rodriguez announced. "They've reached the Enxtheri capital's crystal archives. Operation Trojan is in effect." Kate's expression hardened. While the phantom fleets drew the enemy's attention, a small team of specialists had penetrated the heart of Enxtheri civilization. Even now, they were introducing microscopic flaws into the crystal matrices that formed the alien cities, flaws that would interact catastrophically with the Ghost Protocol when the time came. "The Enxtheri just discovered the destroyed outpost in Sector 7, Rodriguez continued, complete with our message. "Their command channels are going wild." "Good," Kate replied. "Let them worry. Let them wonder. 3,000 years ago, they thought they knew everything about human nature. Time to show them how wrong they were." She turned to the tactical display, watching as the HFY fleet consolidated around their core worlds, exactly as planned. Their precise, predictable tactics were pulling them further and further from Earth with each passing moment. "Begin final countdown," she ordered. "Signal all actual combat ships to prepare for the real attack." The HFY wanted to preserve humanity in crystal. "Let's show them what happens when you give humans 3,000 years to learn your greatest weapon's every weakness." The art of deception was complete. Now came the moment of truth and revenge. Earth hung before them, a perfect crystal sphere that had been humanity's tomb and monument for 3 millennia. The Vengeance emerged from its temporal corridor precisely 1,000 kilometers above what had once been the Pacific Ocean, accompanied by the real invasion fleet. No phantoms this time. Multiple HFY defensive platforms detected, Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with anticipation. "They're still active after all this time." "Not for long," Kate replied, touching the crystal matrix core. "Begin the awakening sequence. Let's show them what humanity has learned during our long exile." The Ghost Protocol activated, spreading from the Vengeance in waves of quantum energy. As it touched the crystallized planet's surface, something beautiful and terrible began to happen. Cracks appeared in the crystal structure, not of destruction but of transformation. "Energy readings are off the scale," Director Wells reported from Apollo Station. "The crystallization is converting directly into power, feeding back into the protocol. It's multiplying exponentially." Kate watched as the first section of Earth's surface began to emerge from its crystal prison. The western coast of North America appeared first, perfectly preserved as if time had never touched it. Cities, forests, and even the Pacific waves frozen in mid-motion began to resume their ancient rhythm. "Life signs detected," Rhodes exclaimed, his crystalline eyes wide with wonder. The preservation was perfect. Everything that was crystallized, every plant, every creature, it's all still there, waiting to wake up. Suddenly, the tactical display blazed with warnings. "HFY fleet incoming," Rodriguez announced. "Massive signature readings. They figured out our deception." "Right on schedule," Kate smiled. "Marshal Chen, you have tactical command of the defense fleet. Show them what Ares Station has been working on for the past 3,000 years." The space above Earth erupted into battle. But this wasn't the desperate last stand of a dying race. This was humanity unleashing 3 millennia of focused military evolution. Ares Station's quantum phase torpedoes passed straight through HFY shields. Apollo Station's solar lances turned their crystal ships into prisms of their own destruction. Athena Station's temporal corridors left enemy vessels fighting battles that had already ended. Decrystallization process at 15%, Rhodes reported as another section of Earth's surface awakened. "The protocol is spreading faster than we projected. The entire planet's crystal structure is acting as a conductor." The HFY pressed their attack with increasing desperation as they realized what was happening. Their weapons fire struck Earth's surface, but instead of causing damage, each impact only accelerated the awakening process. The very energy they used to attack was being absorbed and redirected by the Ghost Protocol. "They're trying to establish a resonance pattern in the crystal matrix," Rhodes warned, attempting to stabilize the crystallization. "Let them try," Kate commanded. "Humanity has had 3,000 years to understand their technology. Show them what happens when they attack us with our own weapon." At her signal, the infiltration teams hidden throughout HFY space activated their devices. Across their empire, crystal cities began to vibrate with unexpected frequencies. Their weapons started to falter as the microscopic flaws introduced into their systems began to grow. Decrystallization at 40%. The Australian continent emerged from its crystal shell, followed by Asia. Ancient cities appeared, preserved in perfect detail. Forests frozen for millennia began to sway in winds that had waited 3,000 years to blow. "Incoming transmission from the HFY flagship," Rodriguez announced. "Put them through," Kate ordered, standing tall on her bridge. The High Administrator's crystalline form appeared before her, its perfect structure showing signs of the same instability affecting their entire empire. "Stop this madness," it demanded. "You don't understand what you're doing." Kate's laugh was cold as space itself. "No, you didn't understand what you were doing. When you preserved Earth in crystal, you didn't end our story. You gave us time to learn every secret of your greatest weapon. And now," she gestured to the view screen, where Earth continued its awakening. "Now we're going to show you exactly what humanity has become. You wanted to preserve us in crystal. Instead, you forged us into diamond." The real battle for Earth was about to begin. The final battle for Earth unfolded like a symphony of revenge, 3 millennia in the making. The Anxitheri threw everything they had at the planet, their desperation growing as each attack only hastened their defeat. Their crystal ships, once the terror of humanity, shattered against defenses forged in the crucible of exile. Decrystallization at 75%, Rhodes reported as Europe emerged from its ancient prison. "The Ghost Protocol has achieved full resonance with Earth's crystal shell. It's beautiful, Commander." Kate stood at the Vengeance's viewing window, watching as cities awakened beneath them. New York, London, Tokyo, each metropolis perfectly preserved, waiting for humanity's return. But it was the sight of wildlife stirring that brought tears to her eyes. Birds frozen in mid-flight resumed their journey. Whales breached waters that had been still for 3,000 years. Multiple Anxitheri capital ships approaching. Rodriguez's warning cut through her reverie. They're charging their primary crystallization weapons. "Let them come," Kate commanded, her voice hard as diamond. "Humanity remembers what those weapons did to us. Show them what we've learned." The Anxitheri ships fired, their crystal beams lancing toward Earth's surface. But instead of spreading crystallization, the beams were caught in the Ghost Protocol's quantum field. The energy redirected, flowing through the awakening planet's crystal matrix like lightning through a conductor. "Now," Kate ordered. All 4 stations activated their systems simultaneously. Apollo's energy matrix amplified the captured power. Ares' targeting systems redirected it with surgical precision. Athena's temporal corridors multiplied its effect across spacetime, and Prometheus' crystal mastery turned it back against its creators. The result was devastating. The Anxitheri fleet's crystal ships began to resonate at frequencies their makers had never imagined possible. Their perfect formations broke as their very technology turned against them. "Commander," Rhodes called out, his crystalline eyes wide. "The Ghost Protocol. It's not just affecting their ships. The quantum resonance is spreading through their entire empire through their crystal network. Every city, every outpost." Kate nodded grimly. They built their civilization on crystal technology, thinking they were eternal. They never imagined anyone could master it more completely than they had. "Send the transmission." Her image appeared across every Anxitheri communication channel, reaching every crystal city and ship in their empire. 3,000 years ago, you thought you were preserving humanity in a crystal tomb. Instead, you gave us time to understand every facet of your greatest weapon. Every flaw, every possibility. You didn't end our story. You forced us to write a better one. The Anxitheri High Administrator's desperate reply came through. "You'll destroy everything we've built." "No," Kate corrected. "We're giving you a choice. Surrender now. Help us restore Earth, and we'll show you how to stabilize your crystal technology. Continue fighting, and watch your empire shatter. You tried to preserve us in crystal. We learned to master it. The choice is yours." She watched as the massive Anxitheri fleet hung in space, their crystal ships vibrating with increasing instability. One by one, they powered down their weapons. Decrystallization at 95%, Rhodes announced as Antarctica emerged, the last continent to awaken. Earth's biosphere is stabilizing. Everything survived in the crystal matrix. "We're home, Commander. We're finally home." Kate touched the crystal matrix core one last time, feeling the pulse of the technology that had both enslaved and freed humanity. "Send word to all colonies. all hidden outposts. Earth is awakening. Humanity can come home. She turned to her crew, seeing 3,000 years of purpose fulfilled in their eyes. But we're not the same humanity they tried to destroy. We're not even the same species anymore. We're what we had to become to survive, to evolve, to return. Below them, the last crystal shells fell away from Earth's surface. The planet that had been preserved as a monument to humanity's defeat had become the symbol of their ultimate victory. They had not just survived, they had transcended. Your orders, Commander. Rodriguez asked as the Enxithuri fleet began their formal surrender. Kate smiled, watching as the first rays of unfiltered sunlight in 3 millennia touched Earth's surface. Set us down in Times Square. It's time for humanity to wake up from its long crystal dream. The inheritors of Earth had finally come home.